by in 3, 2, 1.
Reality. Are you living it?
You are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore, this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies.
Our reality.
The show that will stretch your consciousness and awaken you to a world of unlimited possibilities. It's time to change the world. It's time for an awakening. It's time for Our Reality. Hosted by your emissary to planet Earth, Violeta Frankovic.
Hey, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to Our Reality, where every week we discover new and interesting topics and have interesting guests from all around the world. Today is a very special treat. You are going to hear from one of the people that has fascinated me, because it's a rare treat, because you don't get to meet every day someone who has studied and has such deep knowledge of things we try to understand every day. His name is Santos Bonacci, and you can find his work, among other places, on YouTube and Patreon. But in his own words, he says, I deal with the subject of syncretism, and it's bringing together all the fields of knowledge and wisdom and showing the interrelatedness of all things. Syncretism is the opposite of division and is unity, and covers all the big topics like theology, astrotheology, natural sciences, astrology, reclaiming dominion, etc. These sciences enable one to develop wisdom and enlightenment far beyond what this world currently has to offer. The ancient superiority in all scientific fields is patent still today after the ravages of time have caused decay and wear. The monuments that are still standing thousands of years after their glorious creation are tactfully declaring that all have come after that. After that, they knew more than we do even now in this advanced state of 2021 at this point. Santos, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, wow. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm very well, and I'd like to thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for accepting. Yeah, it's a true privilege, because we listen to people these days who have bits and pieces of information and maybe studied it, but you seem to kind of have compiled it all together. I remember the first video I've listened to from you is about the Vatican, and I was just like glued to the YouTube for 2 hours, and I couldn't stop listening because you had such in-depth knowledge. Can you maybe connect the dots for us? Syncretism, where do we start? How did you start studying it, and how did it all come together for you?
Okay, well, you provoked a memory in me when you mentioned the Vatican. I'd like to start with that.
Okay.
I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and so my parents, they brought me to the church, and I rebelled as a teenager, but I learnt a lot of theology as a little boy. And one thing I remember my father always used to say, reading the Watchtower magazine, funny because the Watchtower, which I call the Watch Out magazine, and the Awake magazine, which I call the Asleep magazine. It's funny how it's funded by J.P. Morgan and Chase Manhattan, who are the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, and yet they are criticizing the Vatican in all of their publications. So since a little boy, I've always had this word, the Vatican, in my mind. And I can remember my father, a Calabrian immigrant to Australia in 1956, still can't speak English. He's still alive, 87, and I can remember him saying, Il Vaticano, and always saying that all roads lead to Rome, and the Vatican is where all evil comes from. And I think he had this handed down from his Calabrian ancestors, because Calabria were the last province of the 20 provinces of Italy who actually resisted the Romans and fought till the end. Just like Jacobites or the Jacobins in Scotland, and and all of these freedom fighters, you know, the Lollards, the Waldenses, the Cathars, the Albigenses, the Socinians, all these, the Calabrians. I'm a Calabrian, full-blooded. My mother is also Calabrian. And in their jokes, the Calabrians would always prefer jokes that had to do with deriding the Catholic Church and the priests and the pedophiles and the nuns and the Vatican and the mafia and the cardinals, and probably 90% of the Calabrian jokes are all about how evil Rome and the Vatican is. And they have this in their DNA, and I certainly do. I carry this in my DNA. It's like the Irish spirit of fighting against the orange people, you know, the Freemasons who went there and plundered and pillaged their free land. So Calabria has been the dwelling place of all the great philosophers that ever lived: Pythagoras, Plato, Porphyry, Plotinus. I come from Campanella, one of the great medieval, and if they did not reside there during the summers, they schooled there. Calabria was a very, very philosophical place. And so the Vatican is still today what I am sharing and teaching with my audience, that the Vatican is the head of the serpent, of the dragon, that rules for a short time over the earth, as has been granted by the cosmos. And we can read this in all the books. The book of Revelation in the Bible, Bhagavad Gita. The Nordics talk about the Gotterdammerung, the Jews, Armageddon, you know, the end, the finale of this great tragedy, this opera, this, you know, reality that that we are in. And it's all, the theatre is all projected from the Vatican. Under the Vatican is a portal in Rome. Okay. Rome is a very, very powerful place. I've been there myself. I've been to the Vatican, St. Peter's Square, and I've felt the power, and I recognize the power that is there. And that's the power behind the Inquisition, the Crusades, the Conquistadors, COVID, all of those four seasons. COVID, the reason it begins with a C is because it's the Conquistadors, they are Crusaders, and they are Inquisitors. This is the Inquisition. In the Inquisition, they tell you to wear a mask and shut up. That's what they do to the slaves, you see. And mask is a gram for the word scan. Mask and scan are the same word. So, so I enjoy, just to start off my introduction and how I got into theology and syncretism, which is spiritual science. I enjoy still to this day repeating what my father spoke, and probably his father and his grandfather, etc. I enjoy speaking about the Vatican and how it is the source of all evil. Madame Blavatsky wrote that the cardinals of Rome are the most powerful of all the black magicians of the universe. They are the inverse of the Jedi. These cardinals, they are infested with hordes of demons. They are demons. And the Pope is the ruler of the time calendar called the JC calendar, Julius Caesar, the Julian calendar. He is the Roman emperor. So we have an emperor, and people don't realize that. And he has a queen, and the queen is in his sub-corporation called London, City of London. And the queen and the emperor rule the big brother, and that is the Pentagon. And that was set up by the Farnese family and the I would say the Collins, who are the Colonna, who are the Columbus. Anything to do with Colombia anything to do with Colombia is to do with the Cristobal Colon family. Colon is how you say it in Spanish, and I'd appreciate if you didn't say that, sister, because you're throwing me off when you interject.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just my style. I'm sorry. I really have to keep my train of thought.
No, I'm sorry. I'll stop. Go
I'm
ahead.
happy if you want to change direction of the course, but what I'm teaching is very, very important for the time we are living in this COVID Inquisition. Okay, the Inquisition is still here. If you go to Wikipedia and you put the word Inquisition in, you will find in the third paragraph right there that it was changed. The name was changed in 1965, 2 years after I was born. The Inquisition was renamed. Let me see. I'm just going to go to Inquisition. And this is how I'm going to go back to your initial question, sister. I'm very, very sorry for sidetracking to how I got into all this. You see, I love truth.
Yeah, no worries. Go ahead. I just had a question for you, but whenever you're ready.
Yeah, and I'm like you. You love the truth. This channel,
Yes.
I wouldn't be here if you were not a lover of truth. So
That's right.
This proves one thing. This proves that you and we were warriors of truth in past lives, because you don't come to this life asleep if you have not worked in past lives. You bring what you are in your soul and your spirit. The soul is the electromagnetic delivery mechanism through which the body manifests on this world. And your soul has fought many battles. You are here now. You've been invited by the gods to share the truth to the world about what is really going on. And so that's why we are exposing the root of all the evil. Here it says in Wikipedia, Inquisition, third paragraph. Let's have a look. Let's go to the fourth paragraph. Here we go. With the exception of the Papal States, the institution of the Inquisition was abolished in the early 19th century after the Napoleonic Wars in Europe and the Spanish-American Wars of Independence in the Americas. The institution survived as part of the Roman Curia. Roman Curia, by the way, is the most powerful corporation ruling all other corporations. And the executives and the cardinals of Rome, they run the Roman Curia. That's the business side of the Inquisition. Continuing on, but in 1908, it was renamed. So here we go. This is the Inquisition, was renamed, quote unquote, the supreme sacred congregation of the Holy Office. I'll interpret that in what they're really trying to tell you. Supreme means they are the boss. Sacred means they are profane. Congregation means they are a gang. They are a mafia. They are a group of thugs congregating together. Holy Office represents their debauchery and their demonic office. Office simply is a position in the Catholic Church. Every office is a position in the Catholic Church, as a person is a parson of the Catholic Church. So continuing on, here we go. Here is the final part of the third sentence. In 1965, it became the congregation, again, gang, for the doctrine of the faith. The doctrine of the faith is their unholy war, which is they are battling against humanity. This is Marxist, it's Bolshevik, They run communism, socialism, fascism, democracy, which is mob rule, oligarchy. They are a synarchy. The best way to identify these thugs is that they are a synarchy. To syncretize, I'm a syncretist, to syn arc, to sync arc, which is government, to sync that together and come together as a group of thugs is what we are ruled by, a synarchy. And then they go out and they proclaim to be democracy lovers, democracies. The type of democracy that was in Plato's Republic and in Pythagoras, that type of democracy was totally not democracy of today. That was a meritocracy. That's what it was, an aristocracy, which means the best shall be the ones that shall take the positions of blessing the others who have lesser incarnations and who are coming through and wanting to ascend, and they are there for the help of humanity. And this aristocratic class, these are not the oligarchs of today, the money makers, the money people, the businessmen who run the world and who do all this, this crime with their false money. And so this is a synarchy. It's important that we understand who's actually ruling this world. So we're seeing some changes now. We're seeing Putin now has booted out the Rothschilds. Putin has claimed that the cabal is falling. So whether these are true or not, or whether this is also counter-tell information, just the fact that presidents are saying things like that is really, really significant. We're living in significant times, We are really, really, really living in significant times when we are going to see swift changes in this year.
Mm-hmm. May I ask you a question?
Yes. Okay,
awesome. So when you mentioned in the Vatican is the root of all evil, and the priests or, they're black magicians, are they aware of it? And what is behind that? Because on this show and others on this network, we talk about often the Draco and the alien agenda. Who's behind them? Who is the root of all evil? What is the root of all evil there?
Okay, well, subliminally, they are suggesting that they are aliens and extraterrestrials. That's why they always say it's a hidden agenda. It's not. They know exactly who these people are, these draconians and reptilians, etc. These entities come from under the earth. We live in a cosmos in which the earth is a plane in the middle of it. Imagine a big apple, just as the great Hebrew scholar Stan Tenen in his video on YouTube, Dance of the Hebrew Letters, just as he shows, as he opens the apple and he says, and here, this disc in the middle, right in the middle, this is the flat earth. This is the stationary flat earth. So just as he says, imagine this now. I don't care what your cosmology is at this stage. It doesn't matter, because this is how atoms, this is how all toroidal fields work. All toroidal fields have in the center a hyperbola, which is the north pole of every system. And in the middle of these apples, these torus fields, are planes of inertia called the block wall in science speak, B-L-O-C-H. The scientist, I think there was a gentleman, a German scientist called Bloch, and they called this wall, this amazing wall that exists in the middle, in the plane. It's called the plane of inertia. That's what Ken Wheeler, another great magnetician, calls this plane, this amazing plane where everything, all gravitation sinks into black light and all radiation comes forth from white light or red and blue light. It doesn't matter. And so an atom is nothing but redshift, blue shift. A proton is redshift, simple. A proton is blue shift, gravitation, radiation and gravitation. Thank you, Walter Russell. So when you understand this, you know that the Earth is the center. Above us are 7 more spheres, not balls and globes, spheres. The moon is not a sphere, it's a portal, it's a wormhole. So is Mercury, so is Venus, so is the Sun, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, and they are the 7 in that order, respectively, which are sealing our dome, that blue heaven, that blue dome above our heads. Below us, according to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, there are 7 more planes which are called. Well, let's have a look at the planes. Please let me go to my search engine. 7 I'm very slow on the computer. I'm like a dyslexic.
That's okay. That's okay. You're very intelligent. I'm just listening in awe. I wanted to tell you we're going to be taking a break here in 3 minutes. I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Yep. Model. Let's have a look what that brings. 7 subterranean planes, Hindu models. All right, let's put the words Putala. Putala is one of them. Putala. Mm-hmm. So Putala. Mahatala, that's the central one, which corresponds to our Earth. Maha means great. Mahatala. And notice that they sound like Tala is Atlantica, sunken Atlantica. These are the 7 sunken islands of Atlantis. Now, I'm not finding them, but rest assured, Atala, Vitala, Mahatala, and Putala are 4 of the names of the planes under the earth, which in Hebrew are called Sheol, which in Greek are called Hades, which in Latin, Romish languages is called infernal, or hell. And these 7 planes are the planes from which these so-called aliens are coming from with their superior technology, because they hoarded it from us when they destroyed Tartaria and when they reset the world theatre on this planet, and they created an electrical grid. Mind control, manipulation, COVID. All of these things result from this electrical grid. They stole our technology. The ancient technology will be mostly found in the Vatican and in Tibet. Okay, so there, and also here in Mexico, where I am, there are Mayans under the earth whom a lady I know has had permission to meet these very tall, white, original Mayans who have descended under the cone-shaped, the V-shaped or heart-shaped state of the Yucatan here on the Yucatan Peninsula where I am.
Amazing. Santos, I hate to interrupt you. We're going to be taking a very short break, and we're going to be coming back here and listen to you. Listen to you. Yes, I could listen to you for hours. So after that, we have a questions from our listeners. We'll ask you that. So we will be right back, our dear listeners. Stay tuned, for this is a really rare privilege to listen to Santos today. Thank you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Our Reality, hosted by Violetta Vrankovic. Broadcasting from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada. We're changing the world, one topic at a time.
You're ready to wake up, you're going to wake up. And if you're not ready, you're going to stay pretending that you're just poor little me.
Be a part of this consciousness awakening by calling our hotline at 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Back with more after this.
When you look to the stars, what do you see?
For this thing just to do what it did, there's nothing that we know of not drone aircraft, not anything that has this type of performance capability.
Saturdays at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Join Misha Johnston for Starseed Awakening. You'll hear first-hand accounts from Misha, as well as from an array of experienced guests, what it's like to be contacted by numerous extraterrestrial groups.
You know, I'm thinking that a lot of the terror and a lot of the fear that I was reacting with and the pain I was experiencing had nothing to do with anything that was being inflicted on me, and it was just sort of an accident of circumstance.
We'll explore the world of our shadow government and their involvement with black ops, such as My Labs, MK Ultra, and other trauma-based mind control projects.
And when I was pulled out of my motel room in the middle of the night to go out there, those of us that were taken out there were taken at gunpoint. And I think that it was to immediately impress upon us that we were being taken in a special way to a special place for a special operation.
Starseed Awakening with Misha Johnston. There's no missing time here, just illuminating conversation.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
Starseed Awakening, Saturdays at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, only on the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
In an imperfect world, the last thing you need to worry about should be surprisingly high auto insurance rates or life insurance. At American Elite Agency, we understand it's tough out there. And with over 20 years of experience, we're here to help. We work with numerous insurance companies to get you the best possible rates. For a quote or more information, call American Elite Agency at 702-245-4572. That's 702-245-4572. American Elite Agency, a name you can trust in troubled times.
You love them enough to do anything for them.
Mom, I need to be wiped. Coming.
Including checking nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
1, 2, 3, 4.
To the KCOR Digital Radio Network.
I love the way it sounds. Love the music. I listen all day.
The future of radio is here and now.
Stand by. In 3, 2, 1.
No topic too controversial. No subject off the table. It's just our reality. Let's evolve together.
I have taken it upon my authority to revoke your access privileges to the mainframe system.
To be a part of this awakening, call 702-425-9230. That's 702-425-9230. Worldwide callers use Skype name KCOR Radio. Share your thoughts on Twitter by using hashtag KCOR or head over to the live chat at kcorradio.com. And now, your emissary to planet Earth, the host of our reality, Violeta Brankovic.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our reality. Today we really have a rare interview and a rare person. His name is Santos Bonacci. If you haven't heard of him, I recommend you highly. He has more answers than you have questions. I guarantee you that. This man is very intelligent and it's good that we're listening to him today. I want to honor a question we had from our listener, Santos. It's from Florida Chick. She's just asking, considering the power of cymatics, vibration transfer through water, does Santos feel that the Catholic Church brands followers with spiritual evil through the practice of baptism, especially babies? If so, does Santos recommend any actions for those of us baptized by a Catholic priest at birth?
The Catholic baptism and all corporate church baptisms have been cursed. This is a curse. But baptism in water is a very, very ancient practice. It is when an individual begins their journey of ascension and to return to cause. Since they are in body, they have been baptized in a T-shaped body, which is a tomb. You come from a womb and you are now a tomb. You are considered dead in this fleshly state. It's the baptism of death. Only one thing can wash dirt, earth, and that is water. And then there's another element, which is spirit. It's spiritual. It's called air. Spiritus, it means air. And then above that is another medium or frequency in the universe called plasma, fire in astrology, or mystic energy. Mist, M-Y-S-T, is fire. Mist, M-I-S-T, is water. The water baptism of M-I-S-T, water, is what Plato calls the false baptism. Yes, it is necessary. Yes, it is the first baptism. There are 3 baptisms that we must go through to ascend. Yes, if you do your own baptism and immerse yourself in water and come out reborn and reset, you are now leaving behind all your fleshly desires. That is supposed to be what that baptism is for. So this is not against baptism. Baptism is an ancient sacrament in every culture. Then comes the philosopher stage, where you come out of that, what Plato calls a false spirituality. It's very psychic energy. It's water. It's more to do with the psyche and the mind. So the spiritual level is another level altogether. This is where the expanded mind of the universe starts to enter into the individual. It's more what they call the universal mind instead of the individual carnal mind, the personality, the ego, the lower ego. This is the higher ego. So these are philosophers, these are gurus, these are teachers, and these are people who have begun their path really seriously in earnest, and they have changed their diets. These are people who you see doing yoga and meditation. Then above this is the mystic. The mystic is the master teacher and the master of his organism. He masters white tantra. He masters his passions. He masters his desires. He inverts desire into appreciation. He inverts lust into love. So, and these individuals, you will see, they'll be more in the background. They will be very, very more sort of private and accessible only by worthy people. And that would be like the hermit on the hill in the sleeve of the Led Zeppelin 4th album, the hermit card in the tarot. That would be the mystic. That's right on top of the mountain. He shines the light down. This is fire, the element of fire. That's why fire is so sacred in all of the ceremonies and rituals of the ancient religions. And they are all beautiful spiritual sciences. It's just that now they have been inverted and corporatized.
Thank you for the answer, Santos. Appreciate it. Wherever you want to take it from here, go ahead.
So I'd like to just now say that I found the list of the 7 planes under the earth. This is according to Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2. Okay, so excuse me, I said Canto 5 before, but no, Canto 5 is the model of the earth that we live on. That's the model I've always been teaching from the word go. Not the word go, but since I became a true truther and a stationary, plain, horizontal earth model. And so in here it says below us is Atala. Atala is the first level. And this is where this technology is coming from, 5G, all of this pulse energy and Cesar, laser, and all types of these new energies have been coming from Atala, I think. I might be wrong. One of these is the place where technology comes from. Atala has the word Atlantic in it, Atalanta. So that tells you all. Below that is Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Putala. And Putala is the depth of the hellish plains. This is a very, 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 very horrible frequency of a place to dwell in this universe. But it's a very demented frequency, and these people live only for pleasure and power. And so there are entities all through these 7 planes, and they have been confined to Tata, which is how the scriptures identify these planes. Sheol. So they have been detained here, so to speak. They do not have permission to come to our plane. Our plane is the plane of purgatory and heaven, 2 conditions. Below the earth is the condition of hell. There are 3 conditions. And so here now we have heaven, earth, and hell, all at the same time. And hence we have this battle, a spiritual war, which is going on. And the light is prevailing over the hell. The hellish entities you see in the media, the liars, the talking heads, the COVID, the people behind COVID, the people who, all of these entities behind this demented, satanic, most base, most foul crime, vile crime in the history of the universe. These are entities who have also generated bloodlines on the earth by deceiving them as gods, because they are gods, they're fallen gods. And they have made false religions out of our original, true, perennial philosophy and syncretism and prisca theologia, which we have always had on the earth. We have always had the beautiful philosophy of heaven here on earth, which is still found in our Bibles and all our holy books are full of this beautiful wisdom, which now the Jesuits have co-opted and are teaching the satanic inverted inversion. It's perverted, it's degenerate, and it is demonic. And so syncretism is here to shine the light on these demons, to shine the light on these churches who profess to, bring the conditions and the right frequency and love and truth, which will set them free, which will help these people from the bondage and slavery of Egypt, which signifies the condition of enslavement, and Rome and empire. And these people that go to church have been deceived because they're waiting for a Messiah to come, you see. But the Messiah is not literal, it's literary. The Messiah is the Messiah which you must become. You cannot continue as a human to indulge in your carnal mind. It's time to now receive the higher mind, which is the universal mind, which is interconnected in the magnetic ether, in the dielectric plane, and is how we are all interconnected. And when people, the mystics, reach this level, this is unity consciousness. This is the monad. This is where white and black light dwells supreme above the plane of red-blue shift. So how we baptize ourselves from this body is through a baptism of water. But everyone has done this. Everyone has done this in some way. If you feel your baptism wasn't done properly, you can do it in the ocean today. You can do it in your bathtub. You can do it with any holy intent and come out of the water with a totally new perspective on life, with your higher personality, or I would say individuality, activated, your higher mind, and that is now spiritus. Now you are with the Holy Spirit, and you are a philosopher, and you are a truther, and you are on the path. And then the stage of the mystic, and that's the highest realm, and that's where you will be immortal. That's where you will be always able to potentially to know all things at all times. That is where you are in unconditionedness and unlimitedness, and that is your true state. So what's happening? Mm-hmm. It is beautiful. This is the return of Christ. In Colossians 1:27, it says, "The Christ is in you." It's in you. And if you don't identify with the Christ, and you are not Christian, and accept that Christ must be in you because you are beautiful and pure, and you must be Christian, you must be of the light, you must be a star, and you must be good and virtuous, and you must have love in your heart, then you're a Christian. And then when you find that place, and when you find that that's who you are, then you know that you are Christ. And the story in the Bible is the story about you. It was the story about you all the time, all along. And we were deceived. We were deprived of our true godship. We were beaten down as sinners and evildoers.
Got you. And would this be true for every religion, like Islam, Hinduism? Would there be any differentiation or path to freedom through any religion?
Well, I study their books because that's where the truth is. I don't study how they behave now. I don't study what they think, because I have surpassed their level. What I'm saying is, what I'm trying to say is, the people who belong to corporate churches, who are teaching any literal doctrine that the Saviour is not any part of their constitution, that they are purely evil and need to be saved by a Saviour, then you and I, we've shifted above that. We know that this is ridiculous. This is kindergarten. This is blasphemy. And that's why the Bible says, if anyone denies that Christ came in the flesh, let them perish in hell. And I agree, let them. People call me a Jesus denier. Oh, Santos, you think you're so intelligent with your Taurus field and magnetism and all of this, and you're a Christ denier. And I don't see how they can call me a Christ denier, because all I talk about is how to be Christened, how to be enlightened, and how the Christ is in you, and that there is only Christ, and there is only one way to ascension, to be Christened. You see, when Jesus in Matthew chapter 23 was talking to his disciples, he said, "Call no one not your teacher on this earth, for one is your teacher, the Christ." Notice he's referring to the Christ as the third person and not the first person. Shouldn't he be saying, one is your teacher, me, in the first person, Christ, Jesus, whom you are looking at? Why would he refer to Christ? Here is Jesus teaching to his disciples as the Christ. Because Jesus is the philosopher. He's still in the spiritual stage. He leads you, like John the Baptist, to the one who is coming, who baptizes in fire. And that is the Christ. Christ is the chrism. In you, you have cerebrospinal fluid, which is called chrism. Chrism is where you get charisma from. You have a lot of chrism, you have a lot of charisma. When you ejaculate in black tantric satanic sex, you lose all of your charisma. So to ascend, sexual practices, of course, you see the seminaries where you go to learn about semen, produces priests. Universities produce doctors and scientists. On the other hand, seminaries are where you go to learn what? The science of ascension, don't you? Don't you go there to learn how to get back to God and worship God and devote yourself to the gods and be a better person and ascend and etc., etc.? Well, yes. And how they did that was they based their ascension protocols on semen and how important this is to recycle this fluid so that the nervous system is now healthy and vital, and it is like a spiritual antenna where you can now, with your hermetic mercurial nervous system, you can channel the knowledge that you once knew when you were unconditioned. Mm-hmm. So this is why the air baptism is the next most important baptism for all those who have properly washed their sins. Sins meaning simply that it is a decline of, it's a drop down of our condition. It's just limitedness. That's what sin is. It's a condition. We are all conditioned. We have to go to work, we have to eat, we have to go to the bathroom, we have to sleep. These are all conditions. Most people would laugh that they didn't have to sleep 8 hours every day. I'm one of those people. So, I'm limited to how much awakened time I have. So there are limits. There are limits to my hearing. Bats can hear much better than I can. Dogs hear. Horses. There are limits to my eyesight. Eagles have hundreds of times more power than our vision. So we are based on very, very, very many limitations. How to increase the scope of your Christness and your mystic awakenedness is by learning in the seminary how to, through sacred sex, which is the gift from the gods, as one of the main mechanisms for ascension, how to use this properly. Because the other kind, the black kind, it only produces industries such as the abortion industry, the venereal disease industry, and the contraceptive industry, which are really just superfluous and not needed at all. These are industries which are based on the Jesuits infiltrating the cemeteries and teaching ejaculatory sex, which was forbidden in the universe.
I see.
So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what about women? I read about the semen and the ejaculation control in Hinduism and Tantra. What about the female energy? How does that relate?
This is the same. See, the female is the receptive energy. It's the other half of the sperm or the egg. So you have your ovaries, which are also producing eggs. So these are fluids that are sacred, and so ejaculation is drying out the supply of these fluids because you have been allocated a certain amount of chrism when you are born, according to the strength and power of the soul and spirit force through which you incarnate. And you are also granted as well a certain number of breaths And when those breaths expire, that's when you expire. So the same is with the chrism. You only have been allocated such an amount. You may have been allocated a lot or a little, but you can grow that amount and by recycling it. But the point of the seminar is to teach all the different ways of how to use the sexual energy, which is natural, which is a human. It's a gift from the gods to the mortal gods called humans, from the immortal gods, which are the same thing, really reflecting each other. So this is a gift. It is a wonderful gift. That's why it's pleasing to the physical body, because it's not hell. It's not boring or what's the word I'm looking for? Tormentous or hard to ascend. It's meant to be easy. It's meant to be pleasurable. It's not meant to be a task and labor. So this is why the gurus, the good, real gurus that have love and have truth, they're always smiling. You see,
that's beautiful.
They're always in a blissful state.
Yes, that's beautiful, Santos. I hate to interject, and I know that you have so much to share, and I have so many questions that we could go for 10 hours, but we're almost done with the show here in about a minute. I just wanted to tell our listeners, in order to connect to Santos, you would go on Patreon, YouTube.
It's YouTube, Mr. Astrotheology, and universaltruthschool.com, my site.
We're going to go ahead and close the show. So hopefully we have you on again, but anybody want to check out Santos, universaltruthschool.com, and make sure to check him out. You'll have more answers than anywhere else, I believe. Santos, thank you so much for being with us today. I'm sorry the time was short, but thank you very much for accepting.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you, dear. Thank you. You too. Much love. Bye, dear.
You've been listening to Our Reality, hosted by Violeta Frankovic. Live every Saturday from the heart of Las Vegas, Nevada, exclusively on the KCOR Digital Radio Network. For more information on the host as well as the show, as well as upcoming guests, please check out our reality show page at kcorradio.com.
Our reality.
From the ordinary to the extraordinary, we've got you covered. Our Reality, changing the world one topic at a time.
This is KCOR Las Vegas, home of the Digital Radio Network, broadcasting from a shack just south of Area 51.
Wait, that doesn't exist.
This is the KCOR Digital Radio Network. Now for the news.